Hi, welcome to my channel if you're new, welcome back if you're a subscriber. Today I will be doing my anticipated February thriller release video. I'm really looking forward to talking about all of these titles. Some of them have already come out, but a lot of them have not come out quite yet and are being released on the 8th, which is tomorrow, so that's really exciting. I found a good list of books that look really awesome and I'm excited to talk about them. Some of them are mysteries, some of them are thrillers, and some of them have, multiple different elements in them. So let's get on to the video. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Catch Her When She Falls by Allison Buccola, and this one comes out on the 1st. 10 years ago, when Micah was a senior in high school, her boyfriend actually killed her best friend. She has finally moved on a decade later, and now she's actually the owner of a new coffee shop and has a boyfriend. Reminders of her past, though, start appearing, and she starts to wonder and sort of second guess what she knows actually about her best friend's death. On a true crime blog, questions are raised about the night and force her to re-examine what happened that night. Was someone else actually responsible for that murder? An obsessive classmate, or even Emily, her best friend's brother, who hasn't been seen since that night his sister died. So as she starts to delve further into this case, she worries about her safety. So this one sounds really interesting. It's kind of giving me a Good Girl's Guide to Murder vibes, but obviously it's a little bit more personal for the main character since it's her best friend from her past. So I'm really intrigued by this one, and the premise sounds really gripping. The Delivery by L.A. Detwiler is coming out on the 1st as well. Yvette has just had her baby and she's happy with everything in her life, except something is wrong with her husband. Before the baby, her lawyer husband seemed normal and he was super well liked, but since the baby has been born, his dark habits start re-emerging. She starts to delve into his secret life and actually fear for her safety. And in a house full of dark secrets, will she solve the most important one before it's too late? So this one only had 34 ratings, but I was really intrigued by the description and the cover, so I wanted to mention it. The next one I'll be talking about is Woman Last Seen by Adele Parks, and this one came out on the 1st as well. So I'm going to read the description. Lee Fletcher, a happily married stepmom to 2 gorgeous boys, goes missing on Monday. Her husband, Mark, says he knows nothing of her whereabouts. She went to work and just never came home. Their family is shattered. Kai Jensen, married to wealthy Dutch businessman Dan, and vanishes the same week. Kai left their luxurious penthouse and glamorous world without a backward glance. She seemingly evaporated into thin air. Dan is distraught. Detective Clements knows that people disappear all the time, far too frequently. Most run away from things. Some run toward, others are taken but find their way back. A sad few never return. These 2 women are from very different worlds. Their disappearances are unlikely to be connected, and yet at a gut level, the detective believes they might be. How could these women walk away from their families, husbands, and homes willingly? Clements is determined to unearth the truth, no matter how shocking and devastating it may be. So this one sounds like a detective story. The next one I'm going to talk about is called Base Notes, and I thought this whole premise was really unique since it revolves around perfume. I just have never heard of that in a story before, so this one really caught my eye. And this is by Lara, Elena, Donnelly, and this one came out on the 1st as well. So the description says, a lasting impression is worth killing for in this intoxicating novel about memories and murder. In New York City, everybody needs a side hustle. Perfumer Vic Fowler has developed a delicate art that has proved to be very lucrative, creating bespoke scents that evolve immersive memories. Memories that, for Vic's clients, are worth killing for. But the city is expensive, and these days, even artisanal murder doesn't pay the bills. When Joseph, a former client with deep pockets, offers Vic an opportunity to expand the enterprise, the money is too good to turn down, but the job is too intricate and too dangerous to attempt alone. Manipulating fellow struggling artists into acting as accomplices is easy. Like Vic, they too are on the verge of burnout and bankruptcy. But as relationships become more complicated, Vic's careful plans start to unravel. Hounded by guilt and a tenacious private investigator, Vic grows increasingly desperate to complete Eisner's commission. Is there anyone, friends, lovers, co-conspirators, that Vic won't sacrifice for art? Alright, so this next one is called The Violin Conspiracy, and this one comes out on the 1st as well, and this is by Brendan Slocumb. And this one is particularly interesting to me. I mentioned it in my February TBR, but I'll say it quickly here. I got 2 degrees in violin performance, so I got my bachelor's of violin performance and then a master's in violin performance. So obviously this topic is really intriguing to me, but let's talk about the description for this. Ray loves playing the violin more than anything, but people in his life don't want him to enter the classical world. His mother thinks he should get a real job, and also he can't afford a good instrument. However, he learns that his great-grandfather's instrument is actually a Stradivarius, which is the best kind of instrument you can get. And so he inherits this, but this instrument is stolen on the eve of the most prestigious classical music competition in the world, and he's determined to get it back. However, the descendants of the man who once enslaved his great-grandfather are claiming that the violin belongs to them, and he has to figure out how to get his instrument back. So if this concept sounds interesting to you and you're into music or the music world, I would highly recommend giving this one a try. Alright, so the next one is The Christie Affair, and this is by Nina de Gramont, and this one came out on the 1st as well. So this is actually a fictional account of the real Agatha Christie disappearance when she disappeared for 11 days. And so this seems to have some historical fiction elements, so I would highly recommend this one if you're interested in historical fiction as well as a mystery wrapped in with that. The greatest mystery wasn't Agatha Christie's disappearance in those 11 infamous days, it's what she discovered. London, 1925, in a world of townhomes and tennis matches, socialites and shooting parties, Miss Nan O'Dea became Archie Christie's mistress, luring him away from his devoted and well-known wife, Agatha Christie. The question is why? Why destroy another woman's marriage? Why hatch a plot years in the making? And why murder? How was Nan O'Dea so intricately tied to those 11 mysterious days that Agatha Christie went missing? Now, I personally still need to finish an Agatha Christie novel. I started and then there were none years and years ago, but I DNF'd it. But I definitely want to give it a try again because I've heard wonderful things about her writing. But this sounds very interesting. And then another book that came out on the 1st is Other People's Clothes, and this is by Calla Henkel. And first of all, I want to say the cover for this is so cute. I love it so much. And this premise is so interesting. It kind of almost sounds like reality TV a little bit. Art student Zoe's best friend has recently been murdered. So she tries to escape the pain from this terrible event by visiting Berlin and studying abroad there. So she relies on the arrangements of a fellow exchange student who has found a Craigslist listing for this apartment that they decide to go to. The catch is, though, this apartment is actually a well-known thriller author's apartment, but she isn't there right now. So they move into the flat, but soon they realize that their landlord is actually spying on them. And her next book seems to be based on their lives for inspiration. So this is why it gives me kind of that reality TV show vibe. So Haley insists that their lives become worthy of a best-selling novel as the year unravels and starts spiraling out of control. Now they start wondering whose story they're living and how it will end. So I am very intrigued by this one, and the cover is amazing, so I hope the story lives up to the cover. The next book I want to talk about is This Might Hurt, and this is by Stephanie Wrobel. Natalie hasn't heard from her sister Kit in more than 6 months, because her sister decided to go to Wisewood, which is actually a private island off the coast of Maine, where occupants are prohibited from making contact with the outside world in order to achieve fearlessness and become their maximized self. So her sister actually went there because she's grieving the loss of their mother, and 6 months later, the main character actually receives a threatening email from a Wisewood account, threatening to reveal a secret that she has actually kept from her sister. So she hurries over to Wisewood to come clean to her sister, but her sister is missing. But once she arrives, she learns that they won't let her go without a fight. So this is giving me sort of culty vibes, and I think an island setting is a great isolated setting. So it's kind of combining two things that I really enjoy in books, cult vibes and also isolated settings. So I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. So on the 3rd, The Lighthouse by Fran Dorricott is coming out. So this one has the isolation trope as well, which I'm really excited about. And it also has the reunion trope, which if you haven't seen my anticipated thriller release video, I'll link it above. That kind of goes through my favorite thrillers of all time and kind of all of the tropes that I really, really like, and it breaks it down into sections. So I would check out that video. So 6 friends travel to a remote island for a reunion, and they rent a lighthouse for this and actually stay in this lighthouse, and it has been remodeled to this stunning building, but it used to be notorious for deaths at sea. So on the first night, one of the guests go missing and the whole group starts searching, but they can't find them. And then in the morning, their friend reappears, but seems to be hiding what actually happened, and they're really, really creeped out by this. They try to put it behind them though, but more unexplained things start happening, and they start to become wary that something more sinister is going on. And it's clear that their friend who was missing knows something that he's not telling them. Also in the blurb, it says that it's a chilling novel with a gothic edge, and I'm really drawn to things with gothic settings, so I love that that blurb says that. I hope this book lives up to that expectation. Also, I love lighthouses, and they also sort of freak me out. I just think that concept is so great for a thriller novel. So this just has a ton of tropes I really like, so I can't wait to read this one. So on February 8th, Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead is coming out, and this is a sequel to Finlay Donovan is Killing It. So if you've already read the first one and enjoyed it, I would recommend checking this one out, but I'm going to give a synopsis of the first novel if you haven't read it. I actually haven't read it yet, but I'm going to be reading it very soon for a secret TBR video. So Finlay is struggling. She's a single mom of 2 and a struggling novelist. So one day she's overheard discussing her plot for her new suspense novel, but someone overhears and mistakes her for a contract killer, and she accidentally accepts an offer to dispose of a problem husband. So she quickly learns that committing a crime in real life is a lot harder than it is in one of her novels. And this one just sounds fantastic. It's sort of a cozy mystery. Apparently it's really funny as well, and also gives people Dead to Me vibes. I love Dead to Me on Netflix. It's such an amazing show. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. So I cannot wait to read this one, and I love the cover of this one. It's so cute. And it's exciting that it's becoming a series. So the next book I'm going to talk about is coming out on the 8th as well, and it's The Other Family by Wendy Corsi Staub. So a seemingly perfect family moves into this beautiful new house, but actually in that same house, a grisly triple homicide murder occurred years ago, and it is still unsolved. So soon strange things start to happen. The dog is acting all strange and sniffing around like a bloodhound, and they find a hidden rusty box in the flower bed. The oldest daughter becomes obsessed with the family before who lived in the house, and she is thoroughly convinced that there is a stranger watching them. So this actually turns out to be the case, and someone is watching them, and one of the family members has a secret that will blindside all of them, that lies close to home and is connected to the history of the house. The Marriage Secret by Carey Baldwin is coming out on the 11th. He married me despite my darkest secret, but am I safe now that I know his? From the outside, my marriage to Zach was perfect. Dream house, a perfect baby girl, and passionate, all-consuming love. When we met, I confessed my darkest secret to him, and he never judged me for it. Instead, he vowed to always protect me, whatever the cost. But as I cradle my gorgeous baby, I have to accept that the husband who used to be my everything has changed. At first, it was little things, expecting me to keep to a strict schedule, picking out my clothes for me. Now he controls every aspect of my life, from how much money I have to when I leave the house and who I can see. One fateful night, a young woman is found murdered, and Zach is a potential suspect. Turning towards me, a look of warmth returning to his eyes, he swears he's innocent, and I realize there is only one solution. If I agree to be his alibi, he will keep my secret, and our daughter can grow up in a loving home. In that moment, I do what any faithful wife would do. I stand by him. But I know deep down only one of us will make it out of this marriage alive. So The Cage by Bonnie Kistler is coming out on the 15th. 2 women are alone in the office of fashion conglomerate Claudine de Martineau International. One is the company's human resources director, who is always dressed to perfection, and the other is the company's lawyer, who's always frantically working. They enter an elevator at the 30th floor together, but only one of them is alive at the bottom. So this one sounds really mysterious. Elevators really freak me out. I was stuck in one when I was really little, and I just always have had this fear of elevators, and a setting in one would be very claustrophobic and a creepy atmosphere. So this one looks promising. I'm not sure if the whole book takes place in the elevator or if it's sort of just the opening scene, but regardless, this one is very interesting. This next one is my most anticipated book of the month, and it is The Apartment by Lucy Foley. Jess needs a new start and she's broke and alone. She asked her half-brother in Paris if she could crash with him for a while, but once she arrives to his apartment, he's missing. And the longer he stays missing, the more she starts digging up in her brother's situation. Everyone in the apartment becomes a suspect, and everyone knows something they aren't telling. So I loved the guest list. I really enjoyed the hunting party, but I absolutely loved the guest list. So I'm excited that she's kind of veering off from her premise she used in both of those. They were kind of very similar, even though they did have some differences. They both had kind of the same format. So this one sounds really intriguing, and if she follows suit and does an audiobook for this one, it will probably be full cast, which I absolutely love. So I'm really, really excited for this one. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I hope I like it as much as the guest list. And yeah, this is my most anticipated book of, honestly, not of the whole year. I have a few that I'm really anticipating, but it is one of them for sure. So this next one, I was mostly intrigued by the cover. I definitely can be really drawn to books just on the cover, but this one is called Tripping Arcadia, and this is by Kate Mayquist, and this one's coming out on the 22nd. So in the blurb, it also said this is perfect for people who enjoyed Mexican Gothic, which I love Mexican Gothic. I love the atmosphere so much, and I really, really love that book. And again, this one only has 39 reviews, but I'm really intrigued by it. So this says, from debut author Kate Mayquist, a propulsive and atmospheric modern Gothic with all the splendor of The Great Gatsby and all the secrets, lies, and darkness that opulence can hide. Med school dropout Lena is desperate for a job, any job, to help her parents, who are approaching bankruptcy after her father was injured and laid off nearly simultaneously. So when she's offered a position against all odds, working for one of Boston's most elite families, the illustrious and secretive Verdot, she knows she must accept it, no matter how bizarre the interview or how vague the job description. By day, she is an assistant to the family doctor and his charge, Jonathan, the sickly, poetic, drunken heir to the family empire, who is as difficult as his illness is mysterious. By night, Lena discovers the more sinister side of the family, as she works overtime at their lavish parties, helping to hide their self-destructive tendencies and trying not to fall for Jonathan's alluring sister Audrey. But when she stumbles upon the knowledge that the Verdot patriarch is the one responsible for the ruin of her own family, Lena vows to get revenge, a poison-filled quest that leads her further into his hedonistic world that she ever bargained for, forcing her to decide how much and who she's willing to sacrifice for payback. So Wish You Were Gone by Kieran Scott is coming out on the 22nd, and in the blurb on this one, it said it was perfect for lovers of Dead to Me, so once again, love that show, so that really caught my attention. Emma is finally going to confront about his drinking because of how much it's affecting her and her 2 children, but he never shows up to meet as planned. So it actually turns out that he was in a car accident and was actually hit by a car and has died now. After the crash, she struggles to deal with her grief, and she leans on the support of her 2 closest friends. But her husband had secrets behind his shiny legacy as a business owner and a family man. And now mysterious details of his last day come to light. This one has a very similar premise to Dead to Me, so I'm very intrigued by this one. So that's all for the thrillers that I am anticipating that have either just come out or are coming out soon. Please let me know in the comments which ones you're the most interested in, and I will be putting out my anticipated horror release video very, very soon. Bye.